Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have a paid instructional video for Justice, which will be going up on a crowdfunding site very soon. Be sure to check the description for all of the pertinent information to show you where and when you can back Justice. Now, Justice is a trick-taking game that is for 3 to 5 players, takes place in about 45 minutes, and is for ages 12 and up. It's set in the same dwarven society as Factory 42. Players are members of the Council of Law and Order, the body which determines the guilt of those suspected of being a perpetrator of a crime. The setup is very simple. Place the Balance of Law board in the middle of the table, and then the player who most recently saw a police officer in person or on screen chooses the first player, and they may choose themselves. Justice is played over a series of rounds, and within a round, players will run through their entire hand of cards. The round sequence is broken up into 6 parts. The first part is Prepare, Part 2 is The Deal, Part 3 is Card Play, Part 4 is Calling Case Closed, Part 5 is The Verdict, and Part 6 is Scoring. During the Prepare step, first take the liability cards and place one face down in each of these spots. The remaining liability cards will be set aside for now without looking at them. Next, take the suspect cards and deal one face up on top of each liability card. The remaining suspect cards can be set aside for the round. Next, deal one crime card face up here and one crime definition card face up here. In this case, we have high profile conspiracy. The remaining crime cards and crime definition cards can be set aside for the round. The crime card is actually just for flavor text. However, the crime definition card sets the trump suit for the round. Give 2 soul gaze tokens to each player. The prototype that I have did not come with any, and so I'll be using these tokens. Deal 1 identity card to each player. These are secret and should only be known to the player themselves. They should never show these to other players. Any identity cards not dealt out can be set aside for this round. Shuffle all 52 suit cards as well as the 14 reaction cards into a single main deck. It should be noted that the 4 suits are evidence, testimony, rosettes, and witness. If this is any round other than the first round, the player with the fewest victory points chooses the starting player. In the case of a tie, the tie is broken in favor of the first player clockwise from the starting player of the previous round. The next step in the round sequence is the deal. Each player begins the round with a 10-card hand, but this can be done in one of 2 ways. For a quicker game, players can use the straight deal. In this case, each player is dealt 12 cards, and then each player will look at their 12 cards, select 2 that they do not wish to keep, and discard them from their hand. This will leave them with their 10-card hand. For a more tactical game, players can choose to draft their hand. After being dealt 12 cards, each player will look at their hand, select the 4 cards that they wanted to keep. We'll pretend this player actually looked at their hand. And these 4 cards. And these 4 cards. And then the players will pass their remaining cards to their left. Like this. Each player now has 8 cards they haven't seen before. They will choose 4 cards from this set of cards to keep. And again, they will actually look at them when they do this. And again, pass their remaining cards to the left. And now they will look at all 12 of their cards and choose 2 to get rid of. Maybe these 2. Which will leave them with 10 cards for their starting hand. Each round consists of a number of tricks. This will vary depending on the number of reaction cards in play, but it can be up to 10. The starting player becomes the lead player for the first trick and must lead a suit card by playing it face up on the table. The suit of this lead card determines the suit of the trick, and a reaction card cannot be used as the lead. Maybe, for instance, they'll play artist. And so now the suit is rosettes. Each other player will now play in clockwise order, like this. As a player decides what card to play, they have two choices. They may play one suit card, in which case it must be the same suit as the lead card. So for the second player here, the only possible cards they can play would be either Hero of Labor or Hero of Justice. Now, if they did not have the same suit, then they could play any cards available in their hand, including a card from the trump suit, which, if you remember, the crime definition card made witness the trump suit this round. Reaction cards are not a suit and can only be played as additions to the trick as a fast effect. Now, the other option is maybe the second player here, or whatever player, doesn't want to play a card from their hand. Whether or not they can match this suit, if they choose not to play a card from their hand and they do still have one of their soul gaze tokens left, they can discard a soul gaze token to pass their turn, which means they will have more cards available to them for a future trick and will have more information about what the other players may or may not have. By discarding that soul gaze token, they also, in addition to passing their turn, get to peek at one of the liability cards underneath the suspects. So maybe that player will peek at this one and you can see this suspect is not guilty. That player does not get to tell any other players what that card says. They must keep it to themselves. And the final benefit of spending that soul gaze token is the player gains 1 victory point. Okay, so now player 1 has played the artist card, which is the number 4 rosette suit. Player 2 has passed by discarding a soul gaze token, and so now player 3 looks and sees their rosette cards are lower than the one that's played, which means they cannot win this hand with one of these cards. They also don't have the trump suit in their hand, so instead they're going to play the number 2 unconsumed beer evidence card. But player 3 isn't done with their turn yet. They see that they have the number 2 reaction card, and this was a number 2 evidence card, and so they're going to play this to augment this card and turn it into a trump card. Reaction cards may be played at any time by any player, but they must match the number of the card they're being played on. You slide it beneath the card like this, and now that card is considered a trump card. It's important to realize that any player may do this to any card other than a rosette card. As you can see on the reaction card itself, it can only be played on an evidence, witness, or testimony card, meaning red, green, or blue. It's also important to realize that a trump created in this way will not beat a trump card of the actual trump suit, in this case, witness. After all players have played a card, or in the case of player 2 here, passed, using the soul gaze token, the winner of the trick is determined. The winner of the trick is the player who played the highest value trump card, so in this case, player 3, or if the reaction card hadn't been played and so this wasn't a trump card, the winner of the trick will be the player who played the highest value card of the lead suit, so in this case, player 1. Let's leave it like this and say that player 3 won the trick. The winner of the trick must now choose one of 2 options to influence the case. The first option is to take one evidence, testimony, or witness card in the trick and place it either to the left side of a suspect, meaning convicted, or the right side of a suspect, meaning acquitted. You can see that you have the acquitted and convicted symbols here. The other option for the winner of the trick is to take one rosette card from the trick and place it either above or below the chosen suspect. No suspect can ever have more than 2 rosettes allocated to them. In this case, we'll say that they took the unconsumed beer evidence and place it to the right like this. Now, if this was not the final trick, return to step 1 of the trick sequence, which is, of course, playing cards, and then the winner of the previous trick becomes the lead player for the next trick. The 4th step of the round sequence is calling case closed. At any time, a player who has no cards other than reaction cards in their hand may announce case closed. This means they have run out of playable suit cards and are triggering the end of round and a move to the verdict. And of course, if you have no cards in your hand at all, then it's obvious that case is closed. The first player to call case closed gains an immediate efficiency bonus of 1 victory point. If 1 or more players called it in the same trick, then the efficiency bonus is awarded to whoever is the closest to the lead player in clockwise order. This means, though, that the lead player would be the last in that tiebreaker. There is only ever 1 efficiency bonus available each round. If only 1 player announced case closed for the trick, the remaining players play 1 more trick, and then the round ends and proceeds to the verdict. However, if more than 1 player announced case closed in the same trick, the remaining players do not play an extra trick, and the round ends immediately. The 5th part of the round sequence is the verdict. 1 by 1, from top to bottom of the balance of law board, each suspect is now assessed by performing the following steps. First, we need to count their conviction value. You can see that there's a base conviction value here of 2 plus 2 is 4. However, we also need to consider the relationship modifiers. If any of these cards have relationship symbol multipliers, which are these purple symbols here, and that matches a relationship symbol on the suspect card itself or any attached rosette cards, then the value of that suit is multiplied by the total number of matching relationship symbols. So this symbol does not match, however, this one does. So this card would normally be worth 2. However, there's 1, 2, 3 of that symbol. And so 2 times 3 is 6. And this card is now worth 6. Which means 6 plus 2 is 8. So the conviction value will be 8. Next, we should calculate the acquittal values. So you can see the base acquittal is 2, 4, 7. However, this card does have a relationship symbol, and it does match this one here. And so this card will be worth 6, which means 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. So since the acquittal total is higher than the conviction total, the suspect is found innocent. In that case, turn the suspect card upside down to indicate acquittal. Once this process has been completed for all suspects, you'll have all acquitted suspects face down and all convicted suspects face up. After determining the verdict for each of the 3 suspects, you'll now enter the scoring step. For scoring, the evidence, testimony, and witness cards no longer matter. You can leave them and ignore them, or you can remove them just to declutter the area. However, be sure to leave the rosette cards. And the most important thing that's going to happen now is to see if the convicted or acquitted person was in fact guilty or innocent. Each player now reveals their identity card. And just for ease of reading for you, I'm going to turn this one right side up. And the most important thing to take note of right now will be the green shaded areas within the victory cog. Each player will score for each suspect who qualifies for either of their green sections. If you had the Truth Seeker card, as you see here, for instance, you would now score for the laudable objectives of all convicted guilty suspects and all acquitted innocent suspects. If you had the Truth Seeker card, as you see here, you'll score points for every guilty convicted suspect and every acquitted innocent suspect. However, an anarchist will get points for every guilty acquitted suspect and every innocent convicted suspect, while the philanthropist just wants to see everyone acquitted. Now that these cards have been revealed, you will reveal the liability card for each suspect. In this case, not guilty, so the truth seeker and the philanthropist will be scoring points. Remember, the verdict is what the players found the suspect to be, while the liability card is the actual guilt or innocence of the suspect. For each suspect outcome that hits one of your green areas, you score the value for each of the 6 possible icons appearing on the suspect and their rosette cards. So even though this suspect was found not guilty, or was acquitted, let's flip him over so we can see all of the icons. The amount scored for each is listed on your identity card. So for the truth seeker, for this icon, we score 2 points. For this one, 2 points. For this one, 2 points. And then another 2 points down here for this one again. There's also a possible rosette card bonus. As long as you have a scoring suspect, you also score any bonus victory points awarded to the suspect from any rosette cards, as you can see here and here. And then there is the gold bar bonus here. In the case of the truth seeker, you can see +3 victory points if no not guilty person is convicted. It should be noted that this is entirely independent of the victory cog. After you've determined your score, record your current victory points on the score sheet. And it's entirely possible for you to score negative points during the round. This will subtract from your current total, however, you can never have a total negative score. The first player to score 42 points wins the game. If 2 or more players manage to reach 42 or more points at the end of the same round, the player with the highest number of points wins. If there's a tie, the win goes to the player with the highest single round score. And if players are still tied, it's a joint victory. If nobody has yet reached 42, then continue with another round of play, repeating the round sequence from the prepare step. And that's how you play Justice. If you are interested in backing this game, be sure to check the description where we will have all of the necessary information to get you to this crowdfunding project. And be sure to check out all of our other great videos and content on the channel. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.